Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we are concluding our study of resurrections today by looking at the great white throne judgment described in Revelation 20 and then what happens to the saved and to the lost afterward. So we're going to read Revelation, chapter 20, verse 11 through chapter 21, verse 8. And I saw a great white throne, and him who sat upon it, from whose presence the earth and the heaven fled away, and no place was found for them. And I saw the dead, the great and the small, standing before the throne. And books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged from the things which were written in the books according to their deeds. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and Hades gave up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every one of them according to their deeds. And death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death, the lake of fire. And if anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth passed away, and there is no longer any sea. And I saw a holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is among men, and he shall dwell among them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be among them. And he shall wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no longer any death. There shall no longer be any mourning or crying or pain, for the first things have passed away. He who sits on the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new. And he said, Write, for these words are faithful and true. And he said, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give to the one who thirsts from the spring of the water of life without cost. He who overcomes shall inherit these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. But for the cowardly and unbelieving, and abominable, and murderers, and immoral persons, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars, their part will be in the lake that burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. So, we have a lot happening here. This is a familiar passage. It is final judgment. John, as all prophetic men in the Bible who are able to see something of the end of time, the way Isaiah did in Isaiah 66, or the way Paul does in the Thessalonian correspondence, they see as far as they can see historically, and then they're given the vision of the end of time. They're not shown the entire panoply of history. They're just not. They're given sight, forward sight, in order to describe the events that God has given them to describe to their immediate readers. And so John has written the revelation about the Roman persecution of the church in the fall of Rome. And then he describes the end of time. We shouldn't be surprised at that, because all of us should assume that the end of time will come immediately after the last moment that we can see. And the last moment you and I can see is the moment we're in right now. And so we should always assume that the end is the next thing that will happen. And so we are given this vision of the end in 20 and 21. Heaven and earth are gone. Now, heaven doesn't mean heaven where God is. Heaven and earth is the universe and the planet, the habitat that God created in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God made the universe and the planet Earth inside the universe for us to live on. That's gone. And what will replace it doesn't happen until after judgment, at least for the saved. Hell, the lake of fire, that's already there. God has prepared that for the devil and his angels. So also heaven has already been prepared for us from the foundation of the world. It just hasn't arrived for us yet. Jesus describes this in Matthew chapter 25 when he's describing the judgment. We've already studied that. We have this great white throne judgment. We have the books and then the book. The book is the book of life, which has the names of the saved written in it. And then we have the books. What are the books? Are they the books of our deeds, the books of the Bible? All of the above? I don't know. We're not told. But everybody will stand for judgment, and some of us will be saved, and some of us will be lost. And the difference will be the choices that we have made here on earth. And death and Hades, Hades being the abode of the dead, death and Hades are thrown into Sheol, are thrown into the lake of fire. And so, and so, death itself and the abode of the dead before final judgment, they're going to be destroyed. And then a new heaven and a new earth. That doesn't mean there's going to be a new universe with a new planet in it. It just means a new existence, a new place. We have the old place. It's one habitat. It's the universe with the earth in it. But it's one thing, this thing that God made in Genesis chapter 1. That's done. The new thing that God has made is now coming. And it is that place that looks like a bride adorned. The holy city itself looks like a bride adorned for her husband. Doesn't mean the church isn't the bride of Christ, but let's be specific. He's talking about how beautiful the existence is. It is as beautiful, this new place is as beautiful as a bride on her wedding day. That's what he says. That's how beautiful it is. And then we have this moment. Um, I don't think we think enough about this act. God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. I just, we've all seen this. We've all done this. We've all had this done for us. Kids crying, mom and dad is consoling the child, hugging the child, and wipes the tear away from the child's cheek. It's God's thumb on our cheeks. Why are we crying? Well, he hasn't made all things new yet. We've been judged and we've been saved, but he hasn't made all things new yet. He hasn't said, I make all things new. And that means there's this moment where we know we're saved, but we know we don't deserve to be saved. Jesus said this. He described it just this way, that the saved will say, when did we do all these good things that you said that we did? And 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 he tells us that those who are saved are going to be surprised that they are. There's going to be this moment where we're saved and we've been judged based upon all of our deeds, and we're going to understand grace. I mean, really understand it, really know what it means to not deserve this, but to have it anyway. What other response will we have than that? God's going to wipe our tears away and he's going to make all things new. And everything that has caused us to weep in the past, it's going to be gone from our conscience. It's done. It's gone. I make all things new. And then he tells John multiple times, write this, write this, write this. Write it because I'm promising it. It's guaranteed it's true. Then he ends with a warning. There is also the lake that burns with fire and brimstone, something that Isaiah describes at the end of Isaiah. This is the second death. That's what the end will be, one way or the other. Taken almost 10 minutes of your time today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this study of resurrections. We're going to talk about the Northern Kingdom and the prophets to the Northern Kingdom next time. But thank you for joining me today for another 5 good minutes.